Soar above with those who dare to look at the world from a new perspective and ask, what if? You're listening to the Altitude Podcast from Eagleview.
Hi, I'm Piers Dormeyer, CEO of Eagleview Technologies. On this show, we bring you stories of pioneers who are redefining the boundaries of their fields. Today's guest is Logan Graff. He's partner at Apple Roofing. If you don't know Logan, Apple Roofing is one of the biggest roof repair and replacement companies in the U.S. with branch locations in 11 states. So I'm excited to talk to Logan about his career journey, the biggest factors impacting his current work, and what he foresees in the future of roofing. All right, Logan, welcome. Welcome aboard. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, hey, you've done a lot. Co-founder of Crest, you're now part of Apple Roofing. Love to get into a bunch of stuff with you today, but I always like to start with the question of how did you get into this crazy roofing business in the first place?
That's a funny story. I'll tell you the short version. You know, I was in a different industry for about 15 years and decided I wanted to exit that industry. Knew a good friend of mine that had just started Crest. And his name is Sam Struthers. Came to him looking for an opportunity, got into the business and sales, had an astronomical first year in the industry with some good weather and some good luck, and then lots of hard work. And then fast forward to April of 2017, we became partners, and we grew the business from there. Quite an adventure along the way. It's been lots of fun. I've learned a whole lot and met a lot of amazing people. It's been a really fun adventure so far.
Yeah, I love talking to people who have been in the roofing industry, especially around storms, and it's wild because people will forget their anniversary. Hopefully not, but they won't forget that month of that, and sometimes the day of those big years, those big hailstorms in our industry.
Sure. Yeah, like April 11th, 2016. That was the first storm I worked. That was the big softball size in Wiley, Texas.
Yeah,
it's quite an event.
Yeah, no doubt. And these days, you guys have merged in with Apple. Is that right?
Yes. We merged in 2021 together, and we've had 3 acquisitions since then across the country. And last year we did business in 22 states. So pretty exciting things going on.
What is that like, bringing 2 large roofing companies together and then adding? I mean, I know my buddy Jorge down in Southwest Florida is one of them, St. Raphael.
And St. Raphael, yes, great folks.
Yeah, great guy, great company. And talk to me about how you integrate those businesses, because they're from they're different regions too. It's not just like a company down the street.
So there's regional differences, there's the transactional differences, what type of customers they sell to, what type of services they provide. Yeah, we're all doing roofing, but every market's a little bit different. So the integration has been it's been challenging, but we've been working together as a team, and it's funny. You would think that you put a roof on the same way every single state in the union, but that's not the case. Each market has its differences and a few challenges here and there. So the benefit of these acquisitions and the benefit of having good resources on the team is we can all put our heads together and attack those business plans the way we want to and execute with everybody's involvement. It helps. Now it can get a little challenging when you have multiple opinions and things of that nature, but that's just part of business. And, the vetting that takes place to find good people that we want to align ourselves with, that's a big part of the upfront process.
What would you say the biggest challenge that you guys have had to overcome with bringing all those businesses together, and how have you done it?
Along with technology, just the people and those processes, because like I stated, what may work in Kansas City may not work in Fort Myers, Florida. What may work in Dallas may not work in another part of the country. So that's been the biggest challenges, is getting everybody to see eye to eye on the processes, and then of course taking care of the customer. That's the number one part. The business and the construction, that's the easy part. We're still working on all the integration as we're growing the company. There's still a lot of things behind the scenes that we're working on just to make it a better company.
Yeah, and we hear, every day there's just been a lot of private equity interests in the roofing industry, other industries as well, but roofing is it's almost been a a little bit of a secret for a while, just with strong cash flows. It's a recession resilient industry. These are not discretion. People put off the Disney World vacation when they need a new roof, right? It's a really strong kind of business model done correctly. So you guys have partnered with private equity, as have a lot of folks have. How has that changed being part of a PE portfolio?
Well, it's allowed us to get into different rooms that we couldn't get into before, or make relationships with people and meet new customers, meet new folks that are like-minded, where before it was challenging to get in those meetings. So the partners that we have at Gage are very wise, and they know a lot about business, and so their goals is to help influx us and build us up so that we can go produce and do what they want us to do. So I think it's been quite an advantage. I've learned a whole lot these last few years as well. Just being in the room with a bunch of smart people can never go wrong.
Yeah, so more on that. And I've been in this same environment too for a long time now. But what kind of advice would you give to people like you that are entering into that environment? Meaning you're working with some private equity folks and taking direction.
Well, two things. Number one, you got to be in it for the long run. It's not a quick fix, and it's not just gonna go away. You gotta be prepared for a lot of runway. And secondly, know who you're getting into business with. With a lot of chatter in the PE world these days, there's a lot of people that want to get in the space for roofing that come from PE. You just need to know who you're doing business with. We're very fortunate. Our partners at Gage are just of the highest integrity, and they support our business. They're not trying to run our business. They're trying to help support the business and gives us more opportunities. The benefit for that is the employee experience, and that's something that we're really, really focusing on is making it a good experience for all of our employees, not just the top.
Kind of pivoting a little bit and back to Apple and your own business. You participate in storm and retail and new construction, right? Maybe some commercial as well. How are you looking at the retail opportunity, and maybe even touch on new construction right now, with the high inflation and high interest rates? How is that affecting the business? How are you guys dealing with those things?
We're dealing with the same way everyone else does. The main goal is making sure that we can generate a healthy margin on a job. Mm-hmm. We understand the difference between new con and insurance and retail. There's a lot of stuff going on in the market with solar these days. So we stay fairly busy year round with insurance work. The storms continue, and we have good footprints in the markets where we're working. So I would say we're about 70% of our revenue is residential insurance type work. A small portion is retail, but that leaves about 30% in the commercial or multifamily space. Those are a little bit different than the residential because those can be CapEx jobs or jobs that are budgeted by those property owners over time. But we have a big focus on continuing to work storms, continuing to work insurance claims, and be able to provide retail and new construction at a healthy margin.
Yeah, that's outstanding. And you mentioned solar. How are you looking at that opportunity?
I don't know a lot about it. I know enough to have a conversation about it, but we brought on a VP of sales who has an extensive background in solar, and we've been, developing a canvassing platform within our business to get out there and pitch solar and pitch roofs. On a perfect day, that's a 2-for-1 if you can get them done. But the solar market is experiencing some challenges with interest rates and the financing things that are going on these days. So it's challenging. We haven't perfected it yet, but we're moving forward with it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those questions that we just get a ton of the time. Just how should we think about this? What's the opportunity? How do we get some of these answers? What markets does it make sense? What markets does it not make sense? So is that sure. How do you guys evaluate taking on a new line of business or a new service like that?
We usually will base it on how much productivity we've gotten in the past using our own historical data. to determine what size storm generates how many opportunities for us to capture as a company. So when we're going into new markets or we're working on new storms, we're using our history that we've created amongst the 5 businesses that are under the Apple name now to strategize that. We're not going in blind. We're pretty strategic with it, and we can usually tell, as soon as we get a storm report day 1, day 2 after a major event, we can almost predict how many transactions we can get across. So depends on the location, depends on the population, depends on the type of storm. We work hail, wind, and hurricanes, and a little bit of everything. So each storm is a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having that data and something that you can use to base your decisions off of is pretty important.
Agreed.
We touched a little bit on some of this already, but just when you start thinking about Apple and the 5 businesses, and you're all working in these different areas, and what would you say is one of the key things that's contributing to success across the whole enterprise?
Experience and teamwork, because the founders of each entity in their market, they know their market a little bit better than the others. For example, we're highly experienced in DFW. Our team at NMC up in Minnesota is highly experienced in the Minneapolis area. Jorge, highly experienced in Florida. So we let the team of leaders, call those shots and dictate what's the best way to dominate a storm. And everybody contributes feedback and opinions with facts and data as well. So it's a team effort for sure.
Yeah, awesome. I'm gonna go up in altitude a little bit. I just did a pun there, I think. But I always like to ask, where do you see this roofing industry going over the next 5-10 years? Where do you see it evolving? And that can be either through tech trends or more consolidation. But what are you guys thinking?
I think it'll continue to consolidate, and I think that some of the mom and pops may have a difficult time. But those who have built their brand over years, if they want to stay, as a mom and pop, that's fine, and they're going to do okay. I don't want to say that we're ahead of the game, because we still have a lot to learn and a lot to accomplish ourselves. But we're very grateful for what we've put together so far, and we're excited about the future. We want to be one of the largest across the country, and we're on our way.
Yeah, actually, that was going to be my next question. Is what about this environment or this industry makes you optimistic? What are some of the trends you think are really positive?
You touched on it earlier. It is somewhat recession proof. If you run a good business and you run it with integrity and you take care of your people, things are going to keep happening. The weather events, the opportunities to sell on the retail side, those opportunities are out there, and somebody's getting their hands on them. We want to be a part of that somebody. So I'm optimistic about it. I'm an optimistic person to begin with. I like positivity and energy and excitement. So maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I see it continuing to grow, and there's lots of things going on in the marketplace these days. So I'm excited for what the future holds.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go on the flip side of that coin now. Where do you think the industry can improve?
I think that the relationships between contractors and insurance companies shouldn't be so hostile. I think the more those two can get along, the better it's going to be. They're run as soon as you realize that they're in business also, you can get a little bit of an advantage. There's always going to be that clash, if you will, because we want them to pay X, they want to pay Y. We end up settling at Z from an insurance claim process. So it would be better if people would not look at the insurance company as the enemy and look more to them as partners, because at the end of the day, we got to work together to get the customer taken care of. And most of the time, the insurance company is going to do the right thing. And if they miss something, they'll usually correct it and fix it. We've had really good experience with that. And, it's the old saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think by focusing on that consumer that's right in the middle and that experience, and recognizing the fact that most people aren't trying to get one over on each other, right? They're just trying to take care of their customer. And if we focus on that experience and not look for a villain in every transaction, I think we're all going to be a whole lot better off.
You hit the nail on the head. it's hard enough, right? Construction, a big project at someone's home, it's disruptive. Even if everything goes perfect, it's disruptive for the property owner, whether it's commercial or consumer. So if you're just adding more fuel to a fire, that's going to make it tough on you. Versus respect, keeping your cool, keeping your head on straight, and focusing on the end result.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome place to land the plane. But hey, I want to give you the last word on this. Anything you'd like the viewers, listeners to know about Apple or what you guys are doing?
Well, we're excited about going into other markets. We're expanding towards the West and towards the Northeast. So getting our footprint out there and just meeting more people that are in the industry gives us opportunities to bring more team members on board. So when you see us out and about, say hello. We're pretty friendly folks. We like to have a good time. We like to work hard. We like to take care of people. So we'll see everybody around.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on, Logan. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, cool.
Take care.
That's all for this episode of the Altitude Podcast from Eagleview. Again, I want to extend a huge thank you to Logan Graff for joining the show today and telling us all about what's going on at Apple Roofing. And thank you for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe, give us a follow, and tell your friends to listen in as well. I'm Piers Dormeyer. See you next time on the Altitude Podcast.